Sometimes history does not arrive with drums and trumpets. Sometimes it arrives quietly in a small plastic tube. I submitted my DNA to Ancestry.com for a simple reason. I was preparing to interview a group called the Cape Palmas Genealogy Project, and they suggested that I take the test to enrich the conversation. It seemed like a small, routine step, just another preparation for an interview. But that simple act opened a door into a much deeper story. A story about my ancestors, a story about the Atlantic Ocean, and a story about families separated and reunited. Besides reconnecting me with my grandniece, the test began revealing something even more surprising. Cousins, all the way across the Atlantic, in the Carolinas and other parts of the United States. To me, that was revolutionary. My father, Wilson J. Bleja, and my mother, Anna Tuopai Taneja, both came from the interior of Sinoe County. Their parents came from the same region, and their parents before them. For generations, our family lived on that land. So I believed my story was simple. A people rooted in one place for centuries. But DNA had another story to tell. My father's line takes me back through several generations. His father was Jawan, and Jawan's father was Chea. Chea had 6 children. One of the sons, To, disappeared. His whereabouts became unknown, and he left no known children. His story ended in silence, but the other branches continued. Chea's father was Sai, and Sai's father was Kugmeh. When we follow that line back in time, we see something remarkable. This means that my bloodline stretches back into the late 1700s, to a time before Liberia was even a republic. My mother's side tells a similar story. Her mother was Ida Tekemanyono Tuopai. Before her was Pele. Before her, Chebo. Then Kuswen. Then Chea, the son of Dweh. That line takes us back to Patriarch Dweh, born around 1778. So on both sides of my family, my ancestry stretches into the late 1700s. 2 separate bloodlines, 2 patriarchs, both living during one of the most turbulent periods in African history. When Kugmeh and Dweh were alive in the late 1700s, this region of West Africa was known as the Rice Coast. It stretched from Sierra Leone through Liberia. European traders targeted this region because the people here knew how to grow rice, and rice was the backbone of plantations in the American South. So slave ships came, and thousands were taken from this coast to South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Virginia. Families were torn apart. Some stayed in the forests of Sinoe, others were forced onto ships, never to return. It is possible that a relative of Kugmeh or Dweh was among those taken. But the Atlantic story is not one-directional. In the early 1800s, freed African Americans began arriving in Liberia. Many came from Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina. They were freed slaves, missionaries, craftsmen, and settlers. And over time, they did what people everywhere do. They traded, formed alliances, married, and had children. Some of their descendants blended into the interior communities. Their settler identity faded, but their bloodline remained. So today, when my DNA test connects me to people in the Carolinas, the story may not be simple. It may be that a relative of Kugmeh or Dweh was taken to America, or a freed slave returned from America and joined our lineage, or both things happened. The DNA matches I see, 8 centimorgans, 12 centimorgans, 30 centimorgans, point to ancestors who lived between 1780 and 1850, the exact era of slave departures, settler returns, and the mixing of bloodlines. That is why I say this is revolutionary, because science is now doing what history could not do. It is reconnecting families separated for over 200 years. And then there's To, the son of Chea. His whereabouts became unknown, and he left no known children, or at least none that we know of. But history teaches us something. Not every disappearance is an ending. Some branches do not vanish. They simply grow in another land, and perhaps, just perhaps, some of those DNA cousins in the Carolinas carry the blood of To. This is not just my story. It is the story of millions of African families torn apart by the slave trade. And now, through DNA, those broken branches are finding each other again. The Atlantic Ocean was once a wall. Today, it is becoming a bridge. From Kugmeh and Dweh in the late 1700s to a DNA test in the 21st century, the bloodlines have endured. From the forests of Sinoe County to the shores of the Carolinas and back again. The blood remembers. I am Dennis Jah. Thanks for watching.